do you think of Dobbs so far?
Been impressed. I really have. He's come in the both of the games he's played. He's played extremely well. Very happy with where he is right now. Has a great understanding of the offense. He's a very intelligent young man. Does a lot of good things. He's athletic. Obviously, the runs he's had in this preseason, the scrambles. So I'm very excited about his development so far.
How much Jacoby just in the last week have you seen just a growth in him and taking command of the offense?
Yeah, it's been the last few weeks I've seen it. Really, it's impressive. He's a natural leader. He's a worker. He spends a lot of time when we're not around him working. I'll look out of my window after practice 45 minutes later and he's still on the field. He's an intelligent guy. He's played a lot of football in his career, so very comfortable where he's at.
To go back to Josh, I mean, Kevin has talked about it a little bit, just how valuable it is that he's been here so long at this point in terms of him potentially backing up Jacoby. Just
Sure.
How important is that to you guys that he's been through all those installs and everything?
Oh, it's very valuable. I mean, the more that they're around, really, it's three new quarterbacks in the room that are learning the offense for the first time. So to have that experience and going through each install through the spring, through the OTAs and training camps, it's super valuable.
Actually, you've had a ton of reps with Jacoby and Deshaun out here. So how does the offense different depending on who's under?
Yeah, well, we're always going to build as coaches. We have to build the best plan around the players that we have, obviously. So skill sets change, but our job as coaches is to get the most out of each player based on their skill set. So it'll look a little bit different, but our core offense is in. But you'll see different plays for each different guy, and that's the case regardless of who's in right now. You always want to play to their strengths.
Now, with that though, he must really be a busy man. I mean, with such a diverse group of quarterbacks, right? I mean, you must have one whole playbook for Jacoby and one for Deshaun when he gets back. Is that?
It's not that extreme, but there are definitely certain aspects of the offense that will run with Deshaun that we may not run with Jacoby, and vice versa, to be honest. But both guys bring a different set of skill sets, but they're both experienced guys and played a lot of games in the NFL, so we got to do our best to get the best out of them.
Last year when we would ask you questions, we'd talk about all the receivers and all the options going into the season
Right.
that you had. This year it seems like it's running backs now, all the
Right.
options that you have there. So just, how do you share the wealth, spread the love so that all those guys get an opportunity to eat a little bit?
It is really a great group. All guys are super talented in that room and have been productive when they've stepped on the field. Obviously, Kareem and Nick haven't played in the preseason, but their body of work from the last two seasons is tremendous. Dearness coming in and having success when those guys were hurt. He's another guy that you feel really comfortable handing the ball off to. And then Jerome Ford coming in. And John Kelly, heck, I mean, he's had a good preseason too. So it's a solid room, and really happy to have all those guys.
Brissett's the only guy we haven't seen play. There's only one game left.
Right.
And he's in a new offense. Does he have enough time to get ready?
Oh yeah, no, I do believe that for sure. I'm not sure how much or if he'll play this week, but we've calculated reps and started to get him more and more. A few weeks back, moving in the direction of him starting the season. So he'll have plenty of reps when the first kickoff happens.
Like off to the side at this point, or is he going to still?
He's going to still get some work. It'll be less and less with the first group moving forward, but he'll still get work.
Do you get reps ahead of time?
That's to be determined, yeah. But we have to be ready for that opener. That's the most important thing. Getting this week, obviously, and then regrouping and being ready to go in the opener. Got to have both those guys ready to go.
Because the rules are what they are, and the fact that once August 30 comes, you guys can't have any contact with Deshaun. Just,
Right.
I guess, how complicated or how difficult does that make it for you guys as a coaching staff when the rules prohibit you having contact from a guy that once he does come back, you're going to be really, really counting on?
Yeah, it's difficult. Luckily, we'll get him back earlier than later, and he'll have some time to be in the building. We'll have to have a good plan in place for him when he's not around. I know we're moving in that direction. We'll have drill work for him that he can take with him, and do on the side. When he's not in the building.
You know what you said about the run game, the strength of the running backs, and the fact that it's Jacoby who's not your franchise guy. Does it make sense just to run the ball a bunch, especially early in the season?
Well, I think we're always going to run the football. I mean, that's where our offense starts, is with the run game and the wide zone game. So I don't think that'll be any more or less. I'm sure teams will defend us a little bit differently maybe than they would with Deshaun, and that's fine. We're used to that. But we're never going to get away from the run game. regardless of who our quarterback is.
How do you see that wide receiver group shaking out after Amari Cooper and DP?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Amari. He's a guy that I've always admired from far. Did him as a receiver coming out in college, explosive, true pro, and he showed every bit of that out on the field and in the practice reps he's gotten. Donovan's just a solid man. He's had a really good camp. He does a lot of things for us in the run game and the pass game. Felton's come on now, as a slot receiver in his second year. I like a lot of his qualities that he brings. And then there's a group of young guys, behind that. But those guys that have potential, there's some hard workers. Mike Woods is a guy that hasn't been on the field as much, but when he has been on the field, he's been productive. Harley is a guy that just can run all day. He's an Energizer bunny. It's a good group, but I definitely am very impressed with Amari.
With Amari, I mean, it seems like him and Jacoby, ever since Jacoby's been getting more of those reps with the ones, have really developed a nice chemistry, like the 2 touchdowns on Friday's practice and 7-on-7. Just what have you seen from those two kind of work to develop that?
It takes a lot of work on the side. It takes a lot of individual route running. Some really good timing reps in that practice, the red zone practice that we had where Amari started off hot. I mean, it's trust in each other, and that's stuff that you gain on the practice field.
Alex, you spent a ton of time with Baker on and off the field these last 2 years. Your thoughts on him winning that starting job?
Happy for him, happy for Baker. Looking forward to competing against those guys in the opener.
Alex, you've heard so much about Jacoby's steadiness and leadership and composure, et cetera. How important are those tangibles, especially with this team and what it's been through this offseason?
Yeah, I think that's huge, and he does bring that rock, in the locker room and on the offensive side of the football. Even going back to earlier in training camp, we were maybe 2 weeks in and we had a really bad practice offensively, and he was the first one to call the group up and kind of just address the issues that we were having at that time. So he's a guy that's been there. He's done it. He's done it as a backup, and he's also done it as a starter. So those are valuable experiences that he's gone through, and we'll lean heavily on him as a leader.
Guys, being a backup, it seems like he's very popular with guys on the team, and he commands a lot of respect. Is that something you've seen? If so, why?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, he is a natural leader, and he is a worker. So guys will, they'll gravitate to that style of player, and it shows.
How'd you feel about calling plays in that game?
It was fun. It's good. I love it. Yeah.
Was it just one quarter?
I went the first half last week. Yeah, the first half. It's awesome here because Kevin gives everybody an opportunity to call, and that's, as a young coach, to have that opportunity is so valuable. I'm not sure who will help call this week, but last week Coach O'Shea called the second half, so it's fun to have different voices and give guys opportunities to be play callers.
Dobbs in that 2-minute drill seemed to be totally in control of things.
He is very in control. He's very in tune with the offense and what we're trying to accomplish on each play call, and he's been executing at a high level.
His intellect is well known, away from football.
Right.
Does that really translate to the game?
For sure. Absolutely. Whether it's memorizing numbers and calculus to memorizing formations and play calls, it definitely helps.
How have you seen Kareem handle the contract issue?
I understand where he is, obviously. I have nothing but good things to say about his work ethic and the way he plays when he's out there. He's a violent runner. I understand it, obviously, but at the same time, he's under contract, and we're hoping he's happy with that, and he plays hard for us this year, which I'm sure he will.
Expect him to be as big a part of the offense as he was a couple of years ago when he was
I certainly would expect that, yes.
With some of these young guys like Anthony Schwartz and David Bell, the ebbs and flows of being a young player, you had your good days, you had your bad days. How have you seen them kind of handle that? Just, it feels like with the receiver position being what it is, a lot's going to be expected of them this year. So just from your perspective, how are they handling the ebbs and flows of the good days versus the bad?
Sure. No, I think Schwartzy's put together some really good practices here of late. He's doing everything we've asked him to do. He gets guys open alone with his speed, and then he made some plays on the ball in this past game, as well as in practice. And then, David Bell's just a young guy. He's learning his way right now. He's getting better each day. That's the thing that I've seen from him. Started off just a little bit unsure of maybe the offense, and now you can see his play speeds increasing. He's starting to get a better understanding.
Michael Dunn showed some mobility out of the center position in the game. He's more mobile than Posick. Having Posick in there as a starter, does that limit you in some of the wide zone things?
I don't think so. I think those are very good centers. I'm real happy that we have the depth that we do have. Poe is a very stout, strong guy, and the wide zone game will suit him just fine. And then Dunny does a lot of good things, like you said, on the perimeter. But the depth that we have at offensive lines is very reassuring.
Did Dunn wrap up that backup center swing position?
You'd have to ask Coach Callahan on that one. I'm going to discuss personnel there.
Kevin was saying that you guys are kind of in regular season mode this
Right.
week. So from a coaching standpoint, what is the emphasis? What are you guys really harping on this week?
Really, it's just to get the rhythm and the timing of how a season, in-season Wednesday would feel. That's it for us today. So we talked through personnel this morning with the group of who they are, put in our base plan. It gives the coaches an opportunity to kind of do a dry run on their presentations. Each coach will present a different area to the guys. So this is the week that we're going to just get the rust off of our presentations and give these guys a feel of what an in-season week.
When you're on the field then?
It definitely changes, yes. We go back to in-season schedule, so we'll be in the building earlier and out on the field a little bit earlier than normal.
No, I mean in terms of like what you're trying to get done during a practice. Like is that
Yeah, we're still in the mode of Browns versus Browns at times. At the same time, getting ready for Chicago, so we're still a little bit in training camp mode. It's not 100% scout team card yet, so we're still competing in a couple periods, but then we're getting ready for Chicago as well.
Alex, what did you see with what happened with Jed at the end of that Friday practice with those penalties?
Yeah, it was a tough situation for Jed. It was just an alignment thing with the left side of the line. We were deep a few times, didn't get it corrected, and he had a false start. Got frustrated, understandably, and that's just part of the deal. You can't get frustrated, you can't throw your helmet. We addressed it with Jed, and Jed's fine.
What are your expectations for him this year? Coach Callahan said he expected a quantum leap out of him.
Yeah, no, I see it, especially in the Philly practices going against different guys. I mean, he's getting the best work he can get every day in the practice against Miles. So to see him go out and have success against other defensive ends, it's very encouraging.
Last one. Against Chicago, I mean, what does he need to show you? And you haven't seen him play in a game yet, just
Right.
like us. So
Right.
does he need to score? Does he need to move the team?
We always talk about operation, getting in and out of the huddle cleanly with the right play calls, getting us into the right plays. Just the operation of offense, I think, is the big thing. Obviously, we would love to go down and score a few times, but that's not the end of the world if we don't. But we're looking for clean operation, clean mechanics from that position.